Hey now folks, my name is Nick, and today we're taking a look at Otontin, Otontin, it's hard to pronounce, Warriors of the Lost Empire from Red Tin Bot. Now, this is essentially a dice chucking game. You are, thematically what you're doing is taking control of a tribe of Aztec warriors, but what you're actually doing as far as gameplay is rolling dice to collect those said warriors, which are little warrior tokens, and then also collecting cocoa beans, which are sort of the victory points of this game. And the player with the most cocoa beans at the end of the game is the winner, and the end of the game is determined by, if you want to do a short game, long game, however you will declare a certain amount of cocoa beans. When someone gets to that point, the final round will be triggered, or if one of the stacks of tokens just completely runs out, cocoa beans or warriors, the game will end, and then you're going to add up the points. So it's got that sort of dungeon roll, King of Tokyo feel, Yahtzee feel by throwing dice and trying to make sets. But then you go into an actual war phase where you're actually fighting people for their cocoa beans to get more for yourself and making alliances. It sounds almost like a dice chucking war game if you were to hear that description. And it does kind of feel like that in certain ways. It's definitely unique, but is it a good game? Let's check it out. Otontin is a competitive game for 3 to 8 players. Each player represents a different Aztec or Incan tribe who's trying to accumulate more cocoa beans than the other players. Cocoa beans are these little tokens here out in the middle of the table, and there's only going to be a certain amount of cocoa beans equal to the varying number of players. The game is going to end when either that stack of cocoa beans of whatever number it is runs out, which will signify that that is the final round of the game, or when one player accumulates 10 cocoa beans by the end of a round, that will trigger the final round after that. Now, there's a different set of cards for every colored player, up to 8, like I said. 2 of those cards are these attack and defense cards, which represent your city. So each player will get those, and you're going to put them out in your city. Just put them face up in front of you. The other 4 cards that you get 1 attack card, which represents you attacking another player, a defense card, which represents you defending yourself from another player, and then 2 negotiate cards. The first thing that you do in a round, however, is the campaign phase. You'll decide who's going to go first, then you're going to go in turn order, and you're going to roll dice. Now, there's an entire bag of dice, and if whoever's turn it is during the campaign phase, they're going to pull 3 dice from this bag and roll them. They have to do that at least once, but you can keep rolling the dice until you run out of dice in the bag, or until you choose to just stop. But if you roll 4 skulls, you immediately have to stop, and your turn is done. Now, there's 3 different colors of dice, and they represent either good. Green dice are usually really good. Brown dice are usually sort of middling. There's some good stuff, but some bad stuff. And red dice have mostly bad stuff. So I'll go through what all the different things mean. Only on the green dice you have cocoa beans. For every cocoa bean that you roll, and this is not like King of Tokyo, so when you roll dice, you're stuck with whatever they are. You can't re-roll them necessarily, but except with one exception. So if you manage to make it to the end and you stop and you have cocoa beans, you're going to take a cocoa bean for each one of those. You just put it in your city somewhere. Warriors, for every warrior that you roll, you're going to take one of these warrior tokens. And the warrior tokens, after you're done with all of your rolling, have to go on your attack and defense cards. You can dispense them however you want, but once they're there, and they're stuck. These little temples represents priests, and after you've rolled all 15 dice that are in the bag, if you still haven't been knocked out by rolling 4 skulls, if any of them came up as priests, you get to re-roll them. And you can keep doing that until you don't have priests anymore, but again, you run the risk of rolling more skulls. Now let's talk about those skulls. And the skulls come in again, they kind of escalate, and there's more of them when you get to the brown and the red die, and there's no cocoa beans on anything but the green die. When you roll a skull, the players to your left and right, if you have more warriors than they do on your cards, they get to steal warriors from you equal to the number of skulls you have. If they end up with more warriors than you at a certain point, then they don't get to take more from you. But if you have more, they're going to steal them from you. If you roll 4 skulls, that immediately ends your turn. You don't get any of the beneficial stuff that you have from your other dice, and you have to sit out the next 2 phases of the game. Well, I say sit out, but the other players can just come in and completely destroy you. You just can't do anything about it. So that's basically how it goes. You're going to keep pulling 3 dice from the bag and rolling until you're either forced to stop from rolling skulls or until you want to stop. Then the next player does it, then the next player does it, and you pretty much just sit there and wait until every other player rolls and takes the consequences of their dice. Once you get through the campaign phase, then you go to the strategy phase. The strategy phase is deciding what you're going to do to your neighbors, essentially. You're going to place one card face down in both directions of where your city is. Now, depending on what cards you play, that's what's going to determine what happens. And every other player at the table is going to do that as well. If you play your attack card next to one of your opponents, and let's say that you've got some warriors out here, let's just say for the sake of argument, you've got warriors on both of your cards, that means that when everyone does the flip over, you are attacking this person, which means you're going to move your attack card over towards that person, signifying that your warriors have left this, your attack warriors have left the city, and they are attacking this light blue player or teal player over here. If you play the defense card, it's the opposite. It's signifying that you're going to take your defense card with all of its warriors, put it next to the other player, and you are defending against them because you suspect that they're going to attack you. Now, attacking warriors have a value of 2, and you're purely just trying to meet or beat numbers. So let's say that I'm attacking with a strength of 8. If my opponent is defending and they're only defending with either attack warriors, or if they're defending with attack warriors and it's just straight up 2 versus 2, and I'm trying to meet more. If I beat them, then I destroy all their warriors, but I also lose warriors in the process as well. So let's say they have 3 attacking warriors out. I'd lose 3 warriors, but I would win. I'd have, as long as I have 1 warrior left, I win the entire battle, and then I get to steal every cocoa bean that they have. It's that simple. Now, let's say that my other opponent on this side is attacking me, and I choose to defend. Every one of my defending warriors on my defense card has a value of 4. So it's very, very difficult for an attacking warrior to get through a defense if you have enough guys out on those cards. Excuse me. But let's say I want to negotiate with the other players. Well, that's what the negotiate cards are for. Negotiating can mean a number of things, and I'm going to be completely honest with you folks. It is so confusing in the rulebook that I'm not entirely sure that we were ever doing it right even after several games, but I'll try my best to explain it. So, when you play a negotiate card, this means one of 2 things. Actually maybe 3 things. First off, it means you're not attacking the other player or you're defending from them. Now, they are not compelled, even if you said verbally to make a deal, that to play down a negotiate card on you, they can just as easily attack you. But let's go ahead and assume that they didn't. If you do that, then a couple of different things could happen afterwards. You can decide to negotiate for cocoa beans. It's basically extortion. If you don't want the other player to attack you, you can give them cocoa beans. If you are offering the other player to not attack them, they can give you cocoa beans. And there's no real rule on how many cocoa beans can change hands in that regard. It can also mean that you make a bridge. Essentially, this allows, let's say that players want to gang up and attack the teal player over there on the left. But it's hard for the blue player can't really do it on his own. But it's hard for the yellow player and the white player to get over there. Obviously, they're not right next to them. You can make essentially a bridge of hands. I can play a negotiate card here. The white player can play a negotiate card here. And then they can send armies over to the blue player to attack the teal player and gang up on him. But of course, like I said, there's no one is compelled to stay true to a bargain that they only gave verbally. So if I play a negotiate card and the other player plays an attack card, they get to basically just ransack my city. Any warriors that I have that are still in the city that I have not attacked or defended with only have a value of 1, whereas the attacking warriors have a value of 2, so it'll be very easy for them to crush my armies, take all of my cocoa beans. Now, this also happens if you rolled 4 skulls during the campaign phase. If you rolled 4 skulls in the campaign phase, you have no strategy, you don't get to play any of those cards, and you don't really participate in the war phase at all. Your warriors are all considered resting, and they're all worth 1, and while no players can pass through your city using negotiate cards, they can attack you at will. That's, so you can lose your entire store of cocoa beans without actually being able to attack them back. This is going to continue until the players basically just keep going until someone accumulates either 10 cocoa beans or you run out of cocoa beans, triggering the final rounds. And that's it. That's Otontin. Well, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This game is terrible. It's just a bad game. And the reason why I so emphatically say it's a bad game is because, I play games that are just bad, that I either just don't like or that everyone at the table can objectively say, oh, this game is just totally broken. I feel like there's just like the sprout of a good game in this little box. And that's what breaks my heart about it, because it's just not. None of the rules come together in a way that actually makes the neat little components and the neat idea of it actually a fun game to play. It's just torture. Let's start from the beginning. Components. The components aren't bad. The dice are okay. They're imprinted dice, not engraved dice. That sucks. That means if for some godforsaken reason you actually play this game a lot, I don't see that happening, it's going to wear off. But okay, whatever. Comes with the dice bag, that's fine. The tokens look way too similar. The warrior tokens and the cocoa beans. It's hard to tell them apart. They're the same color except for the image in the center. And that could have been done better. The cards are fine. The artwork is fine on the cards, although again they all look very, very similar. A lot of the borders differentiating the different color of the cards that each of the players are supposed to get look very similar. So that's kind of confusing, but the components are the least of this game's problems. They're fine. The rulebook is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Now, even if I had completely understood the rulebook the first time that we tried to play this game, it wouldn't have mattered because the game is just still bad. But at least I wouldn't have to go through the process of trying to hunt down the answers. I had to contact the designer and try to get the answers to how the campaign phase especially works. The first phase of the game is very simple. I'm sorry, I'm getting this confused. The campaign phase is the first phase, and that's very simple, just rolling dice and getting stuff. But the war phase is how it's written up is completely confusing, at least to our group. And trust me, you might think I'm an idiot, but I played the game with some very, very smart, intelligent people. That's one of the greatest things I can say about my game, because I have really smart people in my group, and we passed that rulebook around, and we all looked at it, and we're like, we still don't understand. Okay, so the designer actually made videos probably for myself and other reviewers who had the same questions. And even after that, we understood what to do, but it didn't make any sense how that war phase goes. But let's go back to the campaign phase. The campaign phase is just boring. It's easy to understand, but it's boring. It's probably the same reason that I kind of liked Dungeon Roll at first. If you go back and look at my review, I said that Dungeon Roll was a good game. I had only played it 4 times at that point, which seems like a lot. But when I played Dungeon Roll more, with more players, I realized how boring it is to sit there and watch people roll dice over and over again for 10 to 15 minutes. This game is a little bit quicker than that, but it's the same idea. Especially, this game goes up to 8 players, which is ridiculous. Don't play it with more than 5 if you're going to play this at all. And you just sit there and you roll the dice, and then you sit there and think, am I going to keep going? And you're just sitting there watching people play. And if you're in a 6 to 8 player game and you're like the last player in the round, you're just sitting there and sitting there. You could play a game of Love Letter while you're waiting for the other people to roll their dice. So that's terrible. The thing about that too is those skulls. It is so easy to roll skulls, and it gets so crippling. Losing an entire option to participate in the war phase is bad enough. But then, let's say that you actually manage to scrabble together warriors, and you might actually be able to do something if you have the chance to go to the war phase. Just rolling a couple skulls will decimate you, because then other players next to you get to take your warriors. And not only so you're losing strength, they're gaining strength. And they may not even have rolled yet. So it's so crippling to roll those skulls. There's a lot of dice checking games like this that have those negative size on the dice, but this game just has tons of them. There's like 3 or 4 red dice in the bag, and they have 3 skulls on each side. Your odds of rolling skulls. One of the games that we played this game 3 times. That's all I would take. One of the games we played, first round of the game, first campaign phase, 5-player game, 4 of us got locked out of the war phase because we rolled 4 skulls within 2 rolls. You roll once, get a skull, you're like, yeah, I'll keep going. 3 skulls on the next roll. So that, not only is it boring, but it could mean that your war phase is also equally boring for you because you won't get to participate. So that's a terrible idea. Let's go to that confusing war phase for a moment. In just a moment. I don't want to spend too much time on this awful game. you play cards down, and you have to decide what you're going to do on both sides with both players that are adjacent to you. So you're either going to fight them, you're going to defend against them, or you're going to put down the truce cards, the handshake cards, and either, well, whatever. You can do a lot of different things. It's very nebulous. It's one of the confusing things that we had with the game, is that you could just make deal with them, like, give me some cocoa beans and I won't attack you. And then, or I'll give you some cocoa beans, don't attack me. Or you could make a chain of hands across America, hands across the Aztec Empire, and attack someone else like 2 or 3 spots away from you that you couldn't normally get to. But then you have to, but there's like not a lot of incentive to do that, because you have to pay off the other people or do something with the other people that are between you. You don't have to. There's no binding agreements in this game. But if you don't, they're more likely to attack you and not make truces with you in the following rounds. Or you can just attack or defend people. But it's so... defending just locks you down so much. Like the game incentivizes you to put a lot of people on your defending card, because it's so hard to bust through. Each defending warrior is worth 4. And it encourages you to... really encourages you not to make truces, because if you make a truce with someone and they backstab you, it decimates you. Because if someone can get into your city, take out your resting warriors, which only have 1 defense, they take all of your cocoa beans. All of them. Which you might have just put a lot of effort and gotten very, very lucky and gotten up to however many cocoa beans, enough maybe even to win, and then you lose them all. And you might lose them all just because a coalition of players wants to end the game, which is how our last 2 games ended, because we were just like, enough of this. We've had enough. So what ends up happening is you see someone who's got a ton of beans, everyone gangs up, and then at a certain point it becomes king making, which is how our last 2 games ended. Actually, all 3 of our games probably would have ended it like that, but our first game we had to end prematurely because we couldn't understand what the hell we were doing. It's pardon my language. But it just gets down to that point of people teaming up against someone, and then one player gets stuck with a lot of beans, and then when someone gets enough beans, you know, if the final round has already been triggered, it's basically whoever can get through, attack them, and steal all those beans. They'll be the winner. It just doesn't work. Like I said, I feel like there's enough complexity here, and there's enough decent little spinning mechanics to make a good game, but none of it works together in this particular game all that well. It's overly long. It's confusing how the war phase works, how the truces work. It's boring during the campaign phase. So boring, confusing. I can't recommend this game. If you really like the components, if you like the idea of it, if you like the theme, maybe you can make a better game out of this, but you don't need to. You have better options for dice checking games. I would even say that Dungeon Roll is a lot better than this, because at least you can play Dungeon Roll solo. That's all I can say. I'm sorry to say that, Red Tinbot, it's just not a good game. Back to the drawing board. More play testing was definitely needed. So, my name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and every way. Take care.